1,000 years ago, a city stood here, in the heart of the jungle. A city home to nearly 1 million people. That's more than any city in medieval Europe, more than London or Paris at the time. The Khmer Empire built it in the middle of the tropics, where the soil is poor and the rains sometimes flood the land, then disappear for 6 months. The secret of their success was water, and it was water that ultimately destroyed their city. This is the story of Angkor. The greater Angkor area exceeded 1,000 square kilometers. It is the largest pre-industrial city in human history. Only the temples were made of stone. Ordinary people's homes were built of wood, so almost nothing remains of the city itself. Only thanks to LiDAR laser scanning have scientists discovered a whole network of roads, canals, and suburbs beneath the jungle. Angkor Wat is just one of hundreds of temples in the empire, but it became a symbol of the Khmer rulers' incredible ambitions. The city fed artisans, officials, monks, and soldiers, but above all, it fed an incredible number of peasants and rice. And this entire city was sustained by one resource, the ability to manage water better than anyone else in the world at the time. The Khmer built gigantic reservoirs, barrages. One of them held more water than some modern lakes. Water flowed from the Kulin Mountains through a complex system of canals, dams, and sluices that spread throughout the empire. This system allowed for 2, and sometimes 3, rice harvests per year, instead of 1 under natural conditions. The more water that could be controlled, the more people the city could feed. Hydroengineering directly translated into military and political power. The total length of canals and dams exceeded 1,000 kilometers. It was one of the largest engineering systems of the ancient world. Engineers used balanced water pressure, carefully designed slopes, and precise geometry, without a single blueprint as we know it. Rivers that previously simply flowed into Tonle Sap Lake now served the city, feeding moats, fields, and temple ponds. Even the gigantic moat around Angkor Wat wasn't just decorative. It served as flood protection and part of the overall system. Tonle Sap Lake also played a key role, the only lake in the world that reverses its river flow twice a year. The Khmers adapted the entire system to this natural rhythm, using the lake's flooding to replenish the reservoirs before the dry season. Some temples, like Nek Peen, were even built as symbolic centers of the water system, with mandala-shaped pools. This system was so effective that it allowed Angkor to become the largest city on the planet for several centuries. But it came at a price. In the early 12th century, King Suryavarman II united rival clans and began construction of Angkor Wat, a temple dedicated to the god Vishnu. Tens of thousands of people labored on the construction site. Stone was transported dozens of kilometers, using the same canals that irrigated the fields. The temple walls were covered with kilometers of bas reliefs, scenes from Hindu myths, battles, and the daily life of the empire. A century later, King Jayavarman VII came to power after a devastating war with the neighboring kingdom of Champa. He rebuilt the capital, Angkor Thom, and converted to Buddhism, decorating the Bayon Temple with dozens of giant stone faces. He built hospitals, inns, and roads throughout the empire, a network connecting remote provinces with the capital. At the height of its power, the empire encompassed the territories of modern-day Cambodia, Thailand, Laos, and part of Vietnam. Angkor was more than just a city. It was the religious and political center of the universe for millions of people in Southeast Asia. Each new ruler considered it their duty to build a new temple, even grander than the last. The empire seemed capable of growing forever. But the system that made Angkor great was already beginning to crack, literally. Scientists studying tree rings in the region discovered something important. The climate of Southeast Asia had begun to change dramatically. In the 14th and 15th centuries, the region experienced a series of severe droughts, alternating with extreme monsoon floods. The system, designed for a stable climate, couldn't cope with such fluctuations. Floods destroyed dams that had taken decades to repair. Canals silted up faster than they could be cleaned. The larger the system expanded, the more difficult and expensive its maintenance became. Furthermore, the massive deforestation around the city for construction and agricultural land increased soil erosion in the upper reaches of the rivers. Harvests began to decline just as the city reached its population peak. The system that had fed 1 million people could no longer cope. At the same time, a new kingdom, Ayutthaya, was gaining strength in the west. Devastating wars broke out between the two powers. In 1431, Ayutthaya troops sacked Angkor, but this was not the only, or even the main reason for the decline. The empire gradually transitioned from Hinduism to Theravada Buddhism, a religion that didn't require gigantic temples or centralized power. Wanakri, the region's economy was also changing. Maritime trade became more profitable than land trade, and coastal cities became more important than inland capitals. As a result, the Khmer rulers moved the capital closer to the Mekong River, closer to maritime trade and away from the devastated hydroelectric system. Angkor wasn't destroyed in one fell swoop. People simply abandoned it gradually, temple by temple, block by block. The jungle slowly began to reclaim what humans had reclaimed 4 centuries earlier. By the 16th century, all that remained of the million-strong metropolis were a handful of monks among the ruins, hidden by the dense canopy of the tropical forest. In the 19th century, European travelers rediscovered Angkor for the Western world, though the locals never forgot it. Decades of restoration have transformed Angkor into one of the most recognizable archaeological sites on the planet and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Modern technologies, laser scanning and satellite imagery, have revealed that the real Angkor was many times larger than previously thought. Today, Angkor is visited by millions of tourists every year. The city is once again full of people, albeit for a completely different reason. The story of Angkor is a story of how genius in managing nature can become both the greatest strength and the greatest vulnerability. The city that fed 1 million people ultimately couldn't feed itself. Thank you for watching this video.